In 18th century Poland, we find a very interesting woman. Now, first we're going to want to know what her name was. Well, she came from a very learned rabbinic family. Her father was a rabbi, her brothers were rabbis. She marries a rabbi, and they obviously couldn't decide what to name her, and they must have been very fond of the matriarchs. So what did they name her? Sarah, Rivka, Leah, Rachel. That's a lot to call a little girl. In the end, they called her Leah. And Leah married Rabbi Horowitz, and she was known as Leah Horowitz. Leah Horowitz received an excellent education. It seems to me not much less than what her brothers received. She was quite learned, and as a rabbi's wife, she also had the reputation of being extremely learned. She wrote techinis, which were prayers especially for women. And we also have stories about her that fill in a little bit more about her personal side. One story is about this little boy who had to come and study with her brother on Shabbat. But he got there after lunch, and her brother had eaten probably a big chulent and fell asleep. And he sat there baffled. How am I going to study, and how am I going to pass my tests? Well, guess who filled in? Leah was sitting there and prepared this young man every week for his Talmud tests. And when her brother woke up, he passed with flying colors. And he himself wrote a personal diary afterwards and told the story of how Rabbanit Leah had really saved him from failing. The other story, which is actually quite interesting, is told about a wedding, a very large wedding attended by all of the rabbis from the greater area. And the women, of course, were sitting separately at a table, and they were discussing Torah. Unusual, but they were learned, and they're discussing Torah. And the head of the judicial court, of the Beit Din, happens to walk by, and he hears this, and he's stunned. These women are talking Torah? I expected them to be gossiping, to be talking about the latest styles and fashion. And he turns to Leah, and he says, how can you be doing this? Did you make a joke before you started? Why? Because the tradition is that before you started studying Torah, you made a joke so that if Satan was walking by, if the devil was walking by, he wouldn't have any idea what you were doing. And she said to him, we women have no need of this because it's written, in Hebrew I will say and then translate, Piha patra b'chochma. Her mouth opens with wisdom. We can start directly with the Torah. And he actually shut him up quite nicely.